Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today, I'm doing a video that was actually requested in my Discord. So if you guys haven't checked out the Discord, hop in there, check it out. You can request videos, etc., etc. But today we are going through and I'm going to show you guys the basics of how malware can detect if it's in a virtual machine. So this is one of the things that people ask all the time is like, well, I can just run it in a sandbox. And then they realize once they start seeing sophisticated malware that it doesn't work, because if you run in a sandbox, it will tell itself not to execute. And when that happens, now you just kind of don't see it, right? And so that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about. This is going to be just basic. So if you're an advanced practitioner or something like that, feel free to skip this one. I will be hosting, or we'll be doing the more advanced stuff and adding checklists that people can do. Physical checklists that you can download, whatever, on the Patreon. So check that out. And then also, one thing I want to caveat this with is on the Patreon, I'm also going to tell you my tips on the best way I've seen in the industry to not have, or to have a sandbox that does not get detected by malware or anybody else. So let's go ahead and start with it. So first things you can do, right, is on Linux, there's a simple command you can run: systemd detect VM, right, or virtualization, sorry. And you can see it says it's VMware. So right off the bat, if I'm malware, I click or I run this, and if it detects VMware, don't do anything. Don't execute, right? Pretty easy, pretty simple. It's one command, really fast, get a pretty quick answer, right? There's no root permissions required. I didn't have to run this as root, anything like that. It wasn't noisy. Pretty quick, pretty easy. Now, the other thing you can do is if you're actually malware, right? Because you're going to run through multiple checks. It's not going to run through anything crazy, but there's certain things that hypervisors or VMware or any virtualization does that other platforms won't do, that a hardware device won't do. An example is you have to actually generate the hardware, right? It's fake hardware theoretically. So there's what we'd call, standards. So an example would be every single time this is going to be this or whatever, right? Those are the defaults. You can change those. Sandboxes do change those, but there's still ways that you can get by those. So next one we'll do is just demessage, right? And this is just going to get messages from the actual kernel boot messages. And then we're just going to grep for the hypervisor, right? So we'll say grep hypervisor, get rid of the capital there. And you can see operation not permitted. So what does that mean? It means I need to have root for this. So this one is a little less likely to run or to be checked because you need root access, and they don't want necessarily root access, but they may run it and see if they get operation not permitted. You can see hypervisor was detected, and it is VMware. So this is harder to hide because this is actually running from the boot menu. So if this is running from boot, right, what do? Right, it's the kernel boot message. So if it's running from there, well, you have to change that. Getting a little bit more complex, right? So if you're building a sandbox that you're trying to run malware in, any malware worth any snuff, if you will, whatever you want to call it, any malware worth anything is not going to run in these environments. It's going to basically detect itself and go, oh, I'm in a hypervisor, or I'm in a VM or sandbox, whatever, I'm not going to run. And then it just kind of does whatever or nothing. And then you don't even know. So that's one of the hardest things to do, right? Kernels just don't lie. Like, this is pretty simple, right? But this one does take root access. So again, if you're building malware or reverse engineering malware, then you realize really quickly that, hey, this is going to take root access. So this might be a secondary check or something, but I can't rely on this because it may not work every time, right? So if you're looking at reverse engineering malware and you see something like this, that's what they're trying to do, right? So now one of the things we can do pretty quickly is cat in Linux, you can do sys class, and then you can do, we'll see if it actually works. There we go, ID, and we can do product name, right? And look at that. The actual hardware platform, right? The firmware, this is the firmware metadata, is actually VMware Virtual Platform. So if the firmware is saying this is VMware Virtual, that's kind of tough to argue with, right? So then we can say, well, what if they actually change that or whatever? We can do the vendor, VMware, right? So these are all indicators, right? if I'm trying to figure out if I'm in a sandbox, so far pretty easy, right? But let's say we fix all that, right? We don't have to do anything. We're just checking, really easy, right? Or let's say we then are on Windows. What can we do on Windows? Well, and I know this is very small. The problem is I can make it a little bit bigger, but the actual display I can't make any bigger. I've messed with it quite a bit, and I'm sure there is a way to make it bigger, obviously, but I just haven't messed with it. So there we go. So if we're on Windows, right, we can do something like WMIC, right, and computer system, and this just is gathering the computer system information, right? And if you guys don't know WMI, it's a great platform for querying the system. And we're going to say WMI computer system, right? And then we're going to say get. I don't know if I didn't click in there. What's going on? Here we go. Get. And I'm just going to ask it, right? Give me the model and the manufacturer. And it says, there we go. And you can see we've got VMware and VMware, or VMware Virtual Platform. So if I'm on Windows, I can do very similar checks, and this is going to actually check using WMI what the actual asset inventory is, right? In this case, the manufacturer and the model. Again, do you have to, or can you change it? Yeah, you could. But one thing that's really nice about this is it does use an API, but it's a stable API. So we don't have to worry about breaking anything. We don't have to worry about doing anything. There's no admin access for this. You could just run this, right? Now, keep in mind when I say that, there are ways to lock things down. And so you may get an environment where these checks don't necessarily work because someone was aware of them. That's all possible, right? So then we could do WMIC, right? BIOS, and get serial number. This is a good one to use because look at the serial number, VMware, right? So reusing those serial numbers, right? Because this is the BIOS serial number. Well, a real machine, the BIOS it's not recycled, right? Reuse serial numbers are very often done when you're cloning a machine, when you're grabbing a machine, like an image. So like if you have a sandbox that you stand up, you run the malware in, tear it down, and then the next time you stand up, it's the same image every single time, right? You're reusing those serial numbers. So it's very normal to see this serial number and go, that's VMware, right? And so pretty quickly we can say, little bit suspicious there. So you can do the same type of things in Windows, right? If you know what you're doing. Now, if we go back to Linux, this is where we can start looking at the CPU and some of the hypervisor flags that are pretty much where they live, right? Where the hypervisor lives as far as flags go. So when I'm saying flags, it's just information that the machine has. Don't worry about the flags right now. But basically, you can see we just say ls CPU, right? Because we're actually asking the CPU to give us its information, and we're just grepping for hypervisor. And again, you don't have to grep any of this stuff. Grep, if you guys aren't familiar, is just a search term. So I'm just searching for hypervisor. You don't have to do that. And you can look, hypervisor vendor, VMware, right there. So keep in mind, if I was to build a sandbox that would be, malware would detonate in, right? I would have to change all of this, right? Is it possible? Sure, it's possible. If you go to the Patreon, I'll explain to you guys the easiest method if you work for a company on how to get yourself a sandbox that you're almost guaranteeing the malware will detonate in and nobody will be on to you. So now we've talked about CPU, we've talked about hardware, we've talked about the kernel level, all that stuff that you've been able to detect. Now, what about things like the network? So we can say IP link show, and you can see we have ENS33 is our interface, and you have the MAC, that MAC address. Again, this comes back to they reuse these MAC addresses, right? It spins it up and it has a MAC address. And if you have a list of VMware, VirtualBox, whatever, and you have their MAC interfaces or their MAC addresses for their interfaces, I can compare and go, yep, that is a VMware interface. So even if I changed all the wording, if I get rid of the terminology of VMware, hypervisor, all that stuff in there, I can still determine based on the MAC address if it's a reused one or if you're actually properly going through and randomizing the MAC address, right? So then it comes down to some more, which is we'll say list block, right? So this is your hardware, or not hardware, I'm sorry, your actual storage. I couldn't think of the word for some reason. So this is your storage, and you can see size is 20 gigs, size is 20 gigs. So a couple of things here that you can look at. The first one is, well, really quickly, it's not normal to have a 20 gig hard drive on a machine. So quickly, I can look at for sizes that are very specific, like 20 gigs, and I can look for things like that. I can also look for, you can see, one of the key things that a sandbox usually has is if you look at their actual storage, guess what? They're not using that. It's a sandbox. So what does a normal computer look like? It looks used. It'll look like you have, just some random amount of storage left, whereas a sandbox is going to be very static. It's going to be 20 gigs. That's how much you got left. Why? Because it's not been used. It's spun up, it sits there, and then it's spun down. So looking for usage, right? I want to see, are we actually getting real read writes? Like, is the machine look used, right? And this isn't hard to do, because if I look at storage, I say, oh, nothing's ever been saved on this machine. It's a brand new machine. Pretty quickly, that's pretty obvious, right? So you look for full versus empty disks, those types of things. And then we can go on Windows and do the same thing, right? So we say get, again, WMI, object, and then we say Win32, disk drive. And by the way, Linux or Windows is not case sensitive. If you notice, I don't really care about the sensitivity there, but you can see just asking for the disk drive, it shows me it's a virtual disk. So really quickly, I get, hey, there's a virtual disk. Pretty easy to figure that out, right? So really quickly, super quick checks. Now, this is the one that most people don't look at, and that is malware can actually look for constant movements, right? For disk movement, for the computer or the machine being locked out, all that stuff. And so having actual interactions with things is pretty obvious, right? Looking at network connections and seeing that, oh, this machine doesn't have any network connections, right? It's never connected to anything, whatever. Like, it doesn't have internet access, that type of stuff. That's all checkable, right? So they would check those types of things as well. But one of the big ones is right now, we'll just check uptime, right? Oh, sorry, that's the Linux command. So system info, same thing. I didn't mean to type that. System info, and then we'll just say we're going to search for boot time. I really wish I would stop clicking that. So system info, find, and you just do boot time. And you can see it's going to check everything for boot time. And you can see the machine came up at 9:34. On this machine, it is 9:54. So the machine's only been up for 20 minutes. Does that seem realistic that you're going to put malware on a machine that only has been up for 20 minutes? No. So again, very quickly, real users are not going to reboot their machine, then open your malware, most likely, right? Most likely, I say that. So understand then on Linux, you can come over here and you can just do uptime. And you can see, hey, look, it's been up for 22 minutes. One user, 22 minutes. Is that likely a real box? Maybe if it was, 8 a.m. and, the day had just started or something like that, then that's possible. But I don't really think that it's realistic to say, hey, this is going to be, the box has only been up for 22 minutes. That means I'm in a real box, right? So that means you have to keep the machine going for an extended period of time, change all the variables, change the network configurations, right? The MAC address, all that stuff, and have real interaction, meaning real user emulation, meaning the stuff is actually happening, the mouse is moving, people are clicking, that type of stuff, right? Those are all things that you'd have to have in order to actually bypass. And these are just all rudimentary things. These aren't even difficult things. And so whenever we hop over to the Patreon, you guys will see some more advanced stuff, as well as get a checklist with all this stuff in it to check your own systems. But one thing to caveat to that, right, is the malware has to also determine, is it a sandbox or is it just a VM? Because a lot of companies operate with VMs as well. And VMs are not necessarily bad. They're not, I mean, I would still want to detonate in a VM if it's a server. So they have to understand that just the VM title doesn't automatically mean, hey, don't trigger, right? They're looking for multiple indicators, and they have to have whatever their threshold or wherever they're at say, yes, this is good to detonate, no, it's not. And that really depends on the malware itself, sophistication, and the actual target. Because if I'm targeting a huge company like Coca-Cola, then obviously I don't want it to pop and give away like a 0-day or something. So I would be much more strict. But if I'm shooting this out to a bunch of people, I wouldn't be as strict on it, because I'm willing to take a little risk that maybe it detonates in a sandbox, but it was possible that it was a VM. So understand that also has to be differentiated, and you can differentiate some of that stuff with, like we said, disk space, uptime, network activity, all that stuff. So hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully you guys learned something. And if you guys are curious about how attackers kind of go a little further, because sandbox companies are very good, they know all this, so they're changing this. If you are curious about how they take it even further and look at other stuff, hop over to the Patreon, check that out. And if you're curious about more advanced ways to kind of prepare, if you will, for and make your own sandbox, as well as, in my opinion, the number one way to make a sandbox, hop over to the Patreon, check that out. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks.